was like, how long have you been doing this for, Bob? And he was like, since I left school at 15. I'm like, so when you retire, you're going to be 65. You've been up that ladder for 50 years in this cold. And like, I didn't say this to him because he would have, at the time, he probably would have whacked me around the head. I'm looking up, and he's got his like overalls on that are full of crap. His face looked weathered. He'd been on these cold building sites for 50 years. And I looked up and I was like, do you enjoy this? And he said, no, I cannot wait until I retire. I cannot wait. And I looked up and I thought, I definitely need to do something, or I'm going to be Bob talking to another apprentice one day.
Welcome to the Real eCommerce podcast, your go-to for straight talk and smart tips from the world of online retail.
I should have turned up in like a nice tweed suit jacket for you, but I haven't got any here, so...
You're not tweed anymore. There's a long surfer now. I expected like a board, like a camper van to be parked in the back or something like that,
Yeah, I think the hair does suggest that, but yeah.
With a roof rack and a kayak. That's what I expect.
What, the older man's version of surfing?
Do you still go?
Yeah, I go to the wave mostly because it's like an artificial wave here, because I'm on the south coast. You don't get a lot of surf. It's not brilliant.
Okay.
So yeah, an hour and 40 minutes to Bristol, and you can surf all day. And so yeah, it's brilliant. So that's where I do most of it. It's not that far for you to come down either. So if you fancy,
I've tried, mate. I stand on a skateboard.
Balance is not your thing.
Balance is my thing, just not on a board. Just stand up and in a ring or in something flat that doesn't move. I'm good. Well, I've never been a petrol head or a surfing guy, or even like in biking. All my mates are like going down hills, and I'm like, no, not for me. So yeah, I'm not that brave with stuff like that. I'm really not.
But I mean, you've got to be brave to do jiu-jitsu that you do.
Different? No, I'm not got
different brave. You don't mind being choked out, but you wouldn't want to fall off a bicycle.
No, I wouldn't want to fall off a bicycle. No, I have done one in the past. I think it was my dad took me to a little BMX track once when I was little, and obviously I just went down the biggest one because you're stupid and about 5 years old. I had this little BMX, no helmet on. I went down and boom, straight over the thing, and like the bike landed on top of me. Another kid come down and hit me, and like I'm at the bottom, woo, crying. My dad just picked me up and went, "Oh, get on." He's northern, and he's like, "Go on, get up, yeah, get up on that bike and go." And I'm like, on this bike then for because he bullied me to get back on it. I think that's kind of
shattered your confidence for life on bicycles.
Probably, mate. Yeah, probably. Yeah.
But like when you go back to, was it 2010 you started Fight Equipment UK?
Yeah, so I started like 2000. Like the ideas were coming like 2008.
Okay,
that makes sense. So like,
is that because you're into sort of combat sports at the time or not?
Yeah, I was. So it was not wanting to work for somebody and being into. I did quite a lot of like research and quite a lot of a real in-depth business plan on industrial cleaning. I was going to do like sign cleaning, and then I went into window cleaning. I did a really good business plan for it. And at the time, my mum's partner, he was he had a nuclear engineering company. He was really very corporate, but like he spoke sense. And at the time, I didn't really like him because he was straight down the line. I was a little bit young and naive. He was saying, "No, don't do this, do this. You should do this. Why are you doing this?" He's very blunt. And he said to me, and I always remember it now. He said, "You want to do something that you're interested in, so that when somebody asks you about something, they know that you know it and that you live and breathe it, and that if they ask you a question, you can do it." And I'm like, well, the only thing that I know really is like Thai boxing and grappling. And I was like, this is what I like. I love watching. I love doing. So I was like, all right, okay, let's do that. And that's where that kind of started. Yeah.
How good a piece of advice is that to someone, an older person passing down?
Best advice.
Isn't it?
He was really, Brett at the time he was probably like in his early 60s.
Okay.
He's away now, but he was a brilliant fella. And again, at the time when you're young, you've got to take that advice on. And when it's really blunt and to the point, and most of it, I give him a business plan, and the first time he looked at it, he was like, I thought I'd done I'd worked hard on this business plan. I'd been up. I was working a full-time job. I had young kids. And I was looking at this business plan and I was like, right, I thought I'd done a great job. I thought I'm going to give him this and he's going to be like, I'll give you all the money. You go off start. I'll pay for it. He looked at me and he was like, crap, crap, crap. That's not going to happen. That's not true. This is that. And I'm like, oh, is there anything you like about it? And he was like, not really. No, it's all garbage. Go and do it again. And I was like, and that was like, it wasn't, this is garbage because this is just it. And what it did is it made me step back and then actually like look into it myself instead of getting the answers from him. He was just blunt and to the point, and he didn't have much time. He was busy. He's like, and so because I stepped back and then had to think about every single aspect that he said was crap, it made me look into it deeper and work out why it was crap. And honestly, I went back to him about 15 times with this thing. I hated him, but I realized it was good. And so his advice when you get down the line rings true. But at the time, it's like when you're a kid and you know, your dad says, don't do that. Don't jump off that. You're like, oh, you still, you didn't hurt yourself. And you do it again and again and again, and you end up hurting yourself. It ends up being good advice, doesn't it? So
I think that's some of the most amazing advice is just do something you're passionate about, because like they say, don't they, if you do something you're passionate about, you're not going to feel like you're working. Like you said, you're going to be able to draw on that real experience, that real knowledge. It's going to come across genuine. You're going to be excited for it. Imagine, do you think you could have put the level of work in you've put in to date if you had a window cleaning and industrial cleaning business as you've put into this?
No. You just would, no. And you know, I've heard all the industrial cleaners and window cleaners out there, etc. If you like doing it, you like doing it, don't you?
Yeah.
But for me personally, no. I couldn't have kind of done what you guys do, like website development, anything like that. Not my bag. So I think you've got to find what your bag is and, you know, go for it. Definitely.
Was there anything that told you that you didn't want to work for anyone else before? What made that sort of solid in your mind?
It was that I'd always had a feeling when I was even at school that like I wanted to have my own path. And it was when I first left school as an apprentice, a heating and ventilation engineer. So you do 6 weeks at college and then you do 6 weeks on site. So you're going from like a school environment into a school environment again for 6 weeks, but then go into like the opposite end of the scale where you're with these rugged fellas who are in the 50s and 60s who've worked on site all their lives. So you go where you're kind of protected in this school to this man's world on a building site where they're just like taking the mick out of you, hiding your shoes, you know, not taking any grief. You at school, you used to be able to, you know, give a little bit back to the teachers. These guys, you know, they'd whack you on if you were, you know, they're the big fellas. And I always remember we was on a building site in Moss Side. It was called Burley Fields, and the buildings are still there now. And I sat down and you would be told when to have your dinner and your break. So your break was at 10 o'clock till 10:50. Your dinner was 1 till 1:30, and you had 15 minutes and 30 minutes. So you go down at that 10 o'clock and everyone would be there. They'd have a brew and you'd whatever, you were having a snack and just sitting down and relaxing. There was no mobile phones and everyone was reading the paper. And you was this porter cabin. Upstairs on top of the porter cabin was the bosses or the site managers. And at 1:15, he'd come back downstairs, knock on the door and go, right, lads. And it's like, I've just been told, you know, what to do there in terms of when I can relax and when not. And it was exactly the same. Sorry, let me just turn these notifications off. It was exactly the same for dinner. You sit down and bang on 30 minutes, bang on, come down, knock on the door, right, lads, off your pot, and you'd go back to work. And that was like, to me, I was like, I'm being told when I can eat, when I can go to the toilet, you know what to do in a day. And that was one of the things that really made me think, oh, God, I need to, you know, do something for myself. One, for a sense of achievement. Two, to control, you know, what I earn and where I go and when I can have time off and all those things. And I think at the start, when you're working for somebody else, there's a big, you think to yourself that I'm going to go and work for myself and I'll be able to have as much time off as I want. And for the first 10 years, you're like, wow, this is intense. Everyone knows. As soon as you start, there's no such thing. I didn't go out for 5 years. I stayed in. I missed loads of my young kids' lives because I was
Mhm.
working till
Mhm.
I had a full-time job, and then I was coming home, and I was
Mhm.
working, and then
Mhm.
I was going to bed at 1, 2 in the morning, getting up, doing the same. It was just 7 days a week every time. And then I opened the shop. Same thing in the shop. I worked. I'd open the shop. I'd be there from 6 in the morning, and I wasn't leaving sometimes till 12. It's crazy.
Is that where it really started first as a shop, as a more bricks and mortar shop?
I started on eBay really,
Okay.
and a terrible, terrible website that BT built for me. Um,
BT. Brilliant.
yeah, terrible. I don't even know what platform that was on. It was a long
Mm.
time ago. But BT were giving away a free Samsung tablet if you got a website built with them, and that was I was like, I'll get a free tab.
Mm.
Yeah, pointless. So
So you're working for somebody else. You've had these chats with Brett, who said, "Do something that's passionate for you, follow a passion," and then you've kind of started continuing working, but sort of hustling and building this as a side hustle in the background, right?
yeah, yeah. So I left school with I was terrible, and I'm still not the best on a computer. I was terrible. The IT teacher called Mr. Pennington. And he always used to say, we used to have an inside classroom in IT and an outside, and the outside, it was just a hallway. The outside
Okay.
was the kids didn't want to be involved in the class, you know.
Okay.
Mr. Pennington was, he'll be old now, but he was very relaxed and a great teacher. And he come to me one day, and we used to play on an old IBM computer, which were, this thick at the back and like a little
Mhm.
tiny screen. And
Mhm.
and we used to play Crystal Maze or whatever. And he was trying to teach people to type and to use certain programs. And I was like, I'm not going to play Crystal Maze. And he was like, come to me. And he put his hand on my shoulder and he said, James, one day you're going to have to use computers no matter what.
Mhm.
I was like,
Mhm.
no, I'm going to be a builder. So I'm going to be a bricklayer or a builder. I'm going to work on site. And he was like, okay, continue to play Crystal Maze.
Mm.
Then when I was building up to this business, I kind of had to learn to type and to use, I had this little laptop that was like handed down to me from like my mum or something.
Mhm.
And I've still got it upstairs in the loft. I kept it. And like I go home and I was researching online different suppliers, people like competitors, and I actually went through eBay
Mhm.
and found all the competitors selling certain martial arts things, and I compiled a spreadsheet, just an Excel file of this person sells this product for this much. This is how much I paid for it if I got it from this supplier, and I did all that, and it took me so long because I was literally typing by going, uh, and then I'd look at the computer, and go, but I learned to type, from doing this myself. So
Mm.
yeah, I was going away. I was doing that at night, working a full-time job in sales at the time,
Mm.
and yeah, and just doing as much as I could.
It's that passion that keeps you going through those, like, extra times though, isn't it? In that
Yeah,
you are building something for yourself and you are building something that is an interest to you. Because if it wasn't of an interest, you'd probably turn it in that couple of
yeah.
hours earlier and put it off till tomorrow or, so
I always remember my wife's mum said to me, she came round, and this was like early days. I'd probably been doing it for, and the business had started, and I was working long hours, and I was working as well.
Mm.
And I was always tired. And again, I was up till sometimes 3, 4 in the morning on a laptop, just like this, and then you'd be getting up at, 6. I'd have a couple of hours sleep, go to work, come back, and it'd just be Groundhog Day over and
Mhm.
over again. And she said to me, she's like, James, is this really worth it? Is it really worth it? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, but you're really tired and you're short with the kids and, I'm like, yeah, it will be worth it. And then at the time we rented the house, and we both struggled. Jenny was like a nurse, but she was in university to be a nurse. So we had no
Mhm.
money. We had 2 kids. We used to go to Asda, and we had a calculator, and for the 4 of us to feed each other, we had 52 quid. So I'd put the thing in the calculator, and it wasn't a phone, it was a calculator. I used to take it in my pocket, and like 52 quid, and she put some apples in, minus £1.80. And we get to that, and as soon as we got to that, we stopped. So we literally lived on chicken griddlers, really. more than anything. And then we built, yeah, when
Yeah.
we bought that first house, Carol come to me and the thing, and she said to me, "It was worth it, wasn't it?" And this is years later. She was like, "It was worth it, wasn't it?" I was like, "Yeah, I told you." And that's, and like the classic case, you always hear that online, don't you? Where people are saying the people who are closest to you will always doubt you. They
Mm.
will always give you a
Mm.
reason to stop. And that's my like example of that. It was, and she was dead. She was really nice. What a nice lady, and she was just
Mm.
concerned for me and the family.
Mhm.
But then it's getting through those times to get, like, you've got to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and
Yeah,
that's,
definitely.
yeah, that's what
And,
helps.
back in those early days, like, you had what did they look like? You were drop shipping, you were, like, funding it yourself, you were selling through eBay and a BT website, any how were they? They were good fun days though, I've doubt, weren't
They
they?
were great fun days. I had, again, so I was in sales and the BlackBerry had just came out, so they give us a BlackBerry. We had a BlackBerry, so I got my personal email onto it as well. And what I was doing was I was emailing dropshipping from a
Mhm.
company based in London. And at the time, they were the biggest kind of martial arts retailer. They did traditional
Mhm.
martial arts, so retailer slash wholesaler. So they did their own platform, plus they do martial arts clubs, etc. And I would get an order on eBay. It'd come through as an email to me. I would literally go and copy and paste parts from that email and email them and ask them to drop ship it.
Mhm.
And they would have my card and they just charge me as they did it. So I was kind of
Mhm.
on the go, going from, I was a sales rep for a tool hire company. So
Mhm.
I was in a little Ford Fiesta,
Mhm.
bumbling around as my company car. And I'd go to building sites and try and get people to use our company for the power tools and the
Mhm.
diggers and things like that. So I would pull up to a building site, email quick, go and put my hard hat on, go and speak to a load of people, come back, phone,
Yeah.
email people quick. And so yeah, it was that kind of that kind of like drop ship world that I was in.
Mm.
Um, which
And people
is
were finding you through this BT website and also on
no
eBay? No.
eBay. It was
Mhm.
like at the time, eBay as a platform now has kind of plateaued, I think, for resellers or as a retailer.
Mhm.
I think it's gone.
Mhm.
Still sell on there, but very little.
Mhm.
But at the time, eBay was quite prevalent, and it was easy.
Mhm.
It was easier access than Amazon. Amazon was
Mhm.
quite complex. eBay was streamlined and easy. We had the website. We got it built after, probably 8 to 9 months of selling on eBay, building up some
Mhm.
funds. Um, but yeah, I stupidly assumed that I would, and Brett, did not agree with this. That I would build a website and people would just shop on it. That was
Yeah.
like because that's what experience I'd had with eBay. I didn't do any advertising. We were one of the first people selling martial arts gear on there. I would just put stuff on and people were buying it. I was like, okay. And it was just price. You had to be keen on price. We wasn't making much money at the time. I was just trying to build a business and build a customer base. And I thought, if I get a website, I'm going to cut the eBay fees. I'll be quids in. Yeah, it doesn't work like that. I
No.
found that out pretty quick. And
They've got
Brett,
the traffic, haven't they?
yeah, they've got the traffic. You just, you know, if anyone thinks they'll build a website, and I still speak to people these days, some
Mhm.
friends who've got stuff who were like, I'll put a website and it'll be fine. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, it doesn't work like that. So,
No.
yeah, I
And,
suppose.
was there a point where you got to, or did you have in your head a point that you wanted to get to where it meant you could do this full time? Was there like a milestone you had to get to, or a figure you had to get to revenue wise, or
Out of orders per day. Amount of orders
was
per
it?
day. That kept going from like here to, as it got closer to it, it was like, actually I need to, get more. So it got to a point where it was just going up and up. And at first I think I was like 20, if I got 20 orders a day, I can quit my job and go from here. That's
Yeah.
what I thought. And then that kind of suddenly went to 30. And then it went to 35. And I think I quit full time
Mhm.
work in 2013,
Okay.
2013, be around.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and we were doing about between 30 and 40 orders a day,
Mhm.
mainly on a platform like eBay.
Mhm.
We were doing a few on the website.
Mhm.
As I found, as I just explained, that a website isn't just you open the doors and people come in. It's,
Mhm.
I didn't understand that at the time. Social media ads weren't as kind of prevalent as they are now.
Mhm.
You had to try and push people, and we got a few orders on there, and mainly it was from someone on eBay shopping. We put a leaflet inside it, and they were kind of converting. And then we kind of moved on to Amazon. We had
Mhm.
some early success with Amazon. We were doing quite well. There were a few products that only we sold on there. Um, but a lot of the time on those platforms, it's kind of a bit of a race to the bottom, and you have to be careful. So
Yeah. And
yeah,
at what point did you hit that number where you just went, right, I'm going to do it full time? Was that 2013 as well?
it was probably a little bit before that. It was
Okay.
I was quite nervous about leaving work. I
Yeah.
had a good job. When I say a good job, it wasn't the best paid job as a salesman, but it gave me a little bit of freedom because I was out on the
Mhm.
road. So if
Mhm.
I wanted to do that dropship email, I could do that dropship email. It wasn't in an
Mhm.
office where I was told what to do. I had a little
Mhm.
bit of freedom, and that's going from that working on a site as a young age, going, you can have your dinner now and now, to being a little bit in a more like freedom, like based role where I could set what hours, not set what hours I had to be in the office, 8:30 in the morning, and I had to be there at 5 o'clock at night, but I was on the road. So I
Mhm.
would go out, and if I wanted to choose to go, I'm going to go to Liverpool for the day. I'm going to go to this site. I'd plan my day out a little bit, but in between that, I can have an hour's dinner, do
Mhm.
all my emails, or whatever I need to do, as long as I got the work done. And I was quite good at it. Compared to, I think the other salesmen helped me a little bit because they weren't as good. They were a bit older and they were set in the ways. So, like, I was going in and doing all this stuff, and they were like, "Oh, I've done really well there. How's it?" And they're like, "It's because Bob's out playing golf," you know. It's, but yeah, so they helped me a little bit. But it was a bit of freedom, and but it's really to leave that security when
Mm.
you've got kids and when you're paying rent.
Yep.
It's difficult. Yeah.
Does
So
it when you made that switch, did it all that extra time that you had to give towards the business, did that help make the business jump again? Did that sort of help it grow again?
it just accelerated because you're going on where I would do the 9 hours at work and I could do a few emails.
Yep.
I was doing the 9 hours on my own business plus the extra hours at night as well. I
Yeah.
didn't, my time didn't change. I still work
Mhm.
the same crazy hours because now I'm like, I have to make this work. I put myself in that position where it was do or die, sink or
Mhm.
swim. And like that was the point. Before that, I still worked really hard on it, but I had like a safety net of a
Yeah.
wage. And that safety net of the wage was always this, your safety net's here, and then you land on it, it's nice, but it stops you from growing up if you fall underneath it.
Yep.
And yeah, so as soon as I did that, yeah, we just went, you know, on a great kind of trajectory that we are on still to this day. So yeah,
It's that focus and that dedication, isn't it? All of a sudden, there's no more distractions with anything else,
yeah,
and like everything now falls on me. So if this doesn't work, I've got to give it 110% or 150%. And if it doesn't work, then that's on me, and that's quite a lot of responsibility, isn't it? When you've got a family and bills to pay and everything else. But
I
it
suppose
does spur you on at the same time, right?
did you have the same journey when you did yours, and what was your situation?
I didn't like the look of people above me in the senior roles. They just look miserable. Like, and we used to have a great laugh. I was in car sales, and we used to have a brilliant time working together. Like you enjoyed what you did, but when you looked above and you saw the stress and you saw the, like, I don't know, unhappiness in the role and the extra pressure, and you thought, oh, this is my career path. I don't want that. Like, I definitely don't want to do that. And even the people above them, like their bosses, they looked even more stressed and even more annoyed and even more fed up with life. So this can't be the path for me. And I had my stepdad. He was in the car industry, and he was the one that was championing it. You know, it's a great career. You should get into it. It served me well, and so I kind of had that pressure of I should really stick it out because he did, and it did do well for him, and it worked for him. But what works for one person doesn't necessarily work for another.
That's all.
Um, and I went away on holiday, and I just came back. And at the end of that holiday, I was like, right, I am not doing this anymore. I'm going to hand my notice in. And I just literally took a flyer and said, right, that's it. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
The worst. the worst that could go wrong for me was I had to go back to selling cars. And I knew I could do that any day of the week if they wanted me to. Maybe not for the same dealership once I'd said I was leaving, but I could definitely go and get another car sales job. And for the first 6, 7 years after I left, I would have a recurring dream that I was back selling cars. And that kept me going. That just spurred me. Every time I had that dream, I was like, right, I am not letting this fail now, because I definitely don't want to be back there. And in my dream, I'd be like, I'm only here for like a week just to ease the bills, or, and I'd be desperate to get out of there. So yeah, that spurred me on a lot.
It's interesting, like everybody you speak to who's like run their own business always has that, like, I don't know, epiphany moment, and
Yeah.
like where they go. Some people, mine was a little bit more of a like a run up and a jump, where you come back off holiday and you kind of just, jump, but you've been thinking about it before that.
Yeah,
Uh,
loads.
yeah, it's everybody has that, and
Mm.
you've just got to get past it. And you're right, your hours. Everyone thinks, like, when you say that people are stressed at the top,
Mhm.
but I'm still stressed now, and I work, a lot of hours still. And it changes and develops on what your role is as a director over time. The more staff you get, then, you move premises, all these kind of things. But your stress is still always going to be there. There's no way around it. You're always going to have some stress, but your stress is for yourself.
Mhm.
It's your own thing. So that's your, like you said before, it's your motivation to
Mhm.
keep you going, and that you can take the stress if it's for yourself,
Yeah.
rather than being kind of tied down to that wage, that safety net, and
Yeah.
being stressed for that safety net. Is definitely different.
Well,
Epiphany.
you sometimes think like I used to work 8 till 6 when I was in the cars, 5 days a week, and then we'd alternate like every other Saturday and Sunday. So some days you'd end up doing, and you get like a day off in the week. So most weeks you'd work like a 6 day week, and you'd work 8 till 6. So it's 10 hours.
Yeah.
Like, I used to think, Christ, when I work, like you said, when I work for myself, I'm going to have it way easier than that. And actually, you end up working like 16,
Of course you do.
17, 18 hours a day, but you don't feel like you're working 16, 17, 18 hours a day. It's such a weird escapism from the normal, typical
It,
job.
when you were in that car garage for that 10
Mm.
hours, it kind of drags a little bit. You're
Yeah.
busy.
Yeah.
Obviously, when you're younger, you're trying to get out of doing work as a teenager or whatever. All teenagers do, and you think, like, the less I can do, the better this will be. But really, as you get older, you realize that the more you do, the quicker your day goes.
Hmm.
When you're doing those 12 to 10 hours for a car garage, it's still, there's times when you're like, oh, I can't wait till you're looking at the clock and you're like, oh, I can't
Hmm.
wait to go. When you're doing 16 to 18 hours for yourself, you go to work and then it's gone. Like, it's
Yeah.
so quick because you're that busy into it, and your mind's that focused, and you're kind of juggling everything, that it just goes so quick.
You
That
wish for more hours in the day, don't you?
Yeah, I'm always like, God, there's not enough. I'm like, oh God, she's gonna want me home soon. I best get, it's like, yeah. So yeah, it does. It is mad how it changes. Talking about like epiphany moments, and you said, like, you know, you don't want to be on a car garage, a car salesman forever on that forecourt.
Yeah.
One of the, like, going back to like when we started this conversation, one of the things that I kind of forgot to mention it was, as an apprentice, I was probably 17
Mm.
uh, at the time, and we were on different building sites, and we went to these building sites, and it was a shell. We were doing like the first fix heating as a mechanical engineer. You'd be putting the pipe work in, and all the drainage and everything inside the building. So you go to a building at 6 in the morning in the middle of winter, and there's no
Mm.
windows, shell,
Mm.
you're freezing. And as an apprentice, you were told to go and grab this, get that. And I was working with a fella called Bob. And Bob he was probably, he had like 2 years until he retired. So at the time, he was probably 63,
Mhm.
around that age. And he was a miserable git. He was. He was one of them. He was just, yeah. So I used to stand at the bottom of him, freezing, and he was up these ladders, putting these brackets up and putting pipe work up, and I would just be thumbing his ladder basically underneath him, talking to him, passing him stuff. And he said to me, I was like, so how long have you done? He's like, I've got a couple of years to retire, I can't wait. I was like, how long have you been doing this for, Bob? And he was like, since I left school at 15. I'm like, so when you retire, you're going to be 65. you've been up that ladder for 50 years in this cold. And like, I didn't say this to him because he would have, at the time, probably would have whacked me around the head. I'm looking up, and he's got his like overalls on that are full of crap. His face looked weathered. He'd been on these cold building sites for 50 years. And I looked up and I was like, do you enjoy this? And he said, no, I cannot wait until I retire. I cannot
Oh,
wait. And I looked up and I thought, I definitely need to do something, or I'm going to be Bob talking to
mm,
another
mm,
apprentice one day. And that was like one of the things. And I didn't, for years, I didn't do anything about it. I just went from different, I stopped doing that. I went to a different job and,
mhm,
all these things where you're trying to find your feet in life. And I'll always remember Bob. I can see him
mhm,
now, stood up them
mhm,
ladders, down at me
mhm.
going, and I'm like, do you enjoy it? He looked at me, he was like, no, like it was a daft question. Like, why would I enjoy being here? And yeah, you've
Imagine
been,
doing something for 50 years that you just wanted to get to the end of. It's a bit like your clock watching, isn't it? Like you're watching the clock so you can go and do the thing you really want to do afterwards. And you get to 65 and you're 65 and you've got like your retirement ahead of you. Great. But you've spent like 2/3 of your life, probably, maybe more, hating, well, not hating, but disliking what you do.
and that's
Oh,
like, I look and I'm thinking, man, he's been up them ladders for 50 years in the
yeah.
cold. I'm like, whoa, wow. And he's obviously, the lads on the site, you all have a
Mm,
laugh. And you're like, well,
mm,
you're right, it's a clock watching, but you're not clock watching the hours. You're clock watching the
mm,
years. And those years just, and they tick, and before you know it, you bob
yeah.
up the ladders with 2 years to go. And I think people just get really comfortable. And because you've got that safety net and it's just breaking through and having an idea and thought, and do you know what as well? As a lot of people, you'll see them all the time, they have the ideas, and it's the realization of you've got to work harder than what you did in your job anyway. And once you get
Yeah.
that realization, you do it. It's
Yeah.
kind of falls into place. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Oh.
Brilliant. Are there any like the, the journey of working for yourself and the journey of running a business is, we're actually making it sound really appealing, right? But there's a lot of like stories at the bottom and things that have gone wrong or not your way. Have there been any like low points for you where you've just thought, do you know what? I'm just going to go get a job.
Yeah, yeah. So when I first opened the first store,
Hmm.
when I say low points, there's lots of them. Like
Hmm.
there's probably more than there is good. It's just that the good really overshadow them because it's something you're achieving for yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, every week I still have them now. I still have them now. I'm still like, oh, like it becomes, like I say, you roll as a director or a founder of a company. The more staff you get, the more people you've got to manage. The more,
Hmm.
we've just recently bought a building that we've moved the whole company into.
Hmm.
So that was I just literally in June last year was working. There was days in here where I came in at 4 a.m. and I left at midnight the next day because I was in
Wow.
here, you know, getting racking sorted, doing this, grabbing that, making sure this was right, making sure the builders had all. I was in here just make sure project managing it whilst I was managing the company as well. So it still happens to this day. And you know what? I enjoyed it. I did. I was
Hmm.
knackered, but after the end of it, I'm like, I stand there when everyone's gone home and I
Yeah.
like turn the alarm on at night, and I'm not always here, most of the time the staff do it, but I turn the alarm on at night and I look back and I'm like, that was pretty cool that that's, been done.
You've built all of that.
Yeah. But then like
Isn't
now,
it?
yeah, as you look at it and you're like, wow, this started from me selling some
Yeah.
stuff on eBay. Like, but yeah, down moments when I first, like what I can always remember was when I first moved into the store and I had the store open 7 days a week and it was just me. So I was working Saturday and Sunday. Again, I'd be in there at 6 a.m.
Hmm.
and I would not have a day off. And I was doing serving in the shop, customer
Hmm.
service online.
Hmm.
So one guy packing for me, that was it. So, but I was doing listing the products, managing and maintaining them, serving in the shop, cleaning the shop, putting stock out in the shop, pricing things up. I was there till 12 at night. And my wife would be ringing me. She goes, "What time are you coming home?" And I'm like, I don't know. This is at 5. I'm like, "I'll be home soon." And then you look at the clock, it'd be 12. And I'm like, wow, I've got to be up in 6 hours and I'm still doing
Hmm.
stuff. And there was times in that shop, like I was like, I'd sit down and I'd cry. I'd be like, this is crazy. This is crazy. It's so
Mm.
not what I expected it to be. you know.
Mhm.
I'd literally cry in the shop,
Mhm.
like, I can't carry on like this. And then the next daunting task is you've got to try and find someone to employ,
Mhm.
take that burden off you,
Mhm.
but you're really busy running the business. You've got to teach that person how to do their job as a small company like you and somebody else. You think, where am I going to get the time to train these people to do it? I may as well do it myself because I know how to do it and I'm quicker. And that's
To
another,
teach a man to fish, isn't it? It takes a bit of time, but
it's a bit of time, but in the end,
yeah,
it's worth it. But
yeah.
that first thing when you're in it and you're so busy that you're not like, I wasn't eating. Like, and
Mhm.
there's still times these days where I'll get so busy and work, I'm like, oh, I've had my dinner.
Mhm.
I wasn't eating. I was just literally going and I'd be like eating crap, just eating crap, and I'd be drinking like, like nowadays I fill my jug up every morning before I come to, but I wasn't. I was just like going to the toilets and filling up a little thing and having a swig of water and going back in there. But if I needed a wee or to do a number two, I had to lock the shop and go to the toilet.
Oh,
So then I'd go and you'd come back and there'd be 5 people waiting for you as you got in there. Do you know what I mean? So then you'd open it back up, go back in, and then, can I see this in this size? Have you got this? Can you do that? Can you do the phone's ringing? And like, I'm
yeah.
answering the phone, serving people. 1 minute, yeah, okay. And they'd be like, oh, I ordered something yesterday. Can you tell me where it is? And it's like, okay, I'll have a look. And you just gotta, yeah, it was wild. And so those days, there was times when I literally physically cried in the store,
Mm.
thinking, when I'm on my own at night, thinking, oh, this is intense. Yeah. So
I had a situation where I got partnered with a company that had like a hair straightener, and they were doing a pink promotion, and they said, "Can your product come in pink, and we'll sell it alongside this pink promotion, and there'll be like tens of thousands of these going out." So I was like, "Yeah, I can definitely do that." Ordered the samples, got them all like to approve all the samples and everything else. They turned up and they're red, not pink, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like the product, it's been like Pantone match to be the same as the product, so the things go together. And my heart just sank. Like I thought, this is the end now. Like I really, this is the end of the business, and I'm stressed about it. And maybe I should just go back and get a job.
nothing we can't get.
Um, yeah. And actually, the company were like, "Well, look, the pink promotions now, but we've got a Christmas promotion in a couple of months' time. So why don't we just spin this into a Christmas promotion and make it red?" And I was like, "Phew." Like there's normally a way, isn't there? Or there's a little bit of will, or a bit of, I don't know what it is, God's will that's helping you along that journey. And that for me just stopped it from being a catastrophic failure. But
Well,
yeah, saw me through.
you're right. Like and it seems weird. You're like, you're knocking on doors
Mm,
and you have to do it for a long time. And then all of a sudden, like, I don't know what it is, but like karma, the universe or something, like it
mm,
all kind of works out in the end. Um,
mm,
my story like that was, was selling one of the brands that we sell. I'm not going to mention them, but one of the big is a global brand. Um, So I was at the time really struggling to get hold of this brand, and it's a great seller, and we're one of the only few in the country now that sell this brand. So I was emailing headquarters in the USA, ignored me. 2 years, sending an email once a week, trying to ring them, phoning up and just getting the switchboard and just keep going and
mm,
kept going and kept going. And I'm like, this was 2 years in, and they've not even responded to me. And I'm like, I'm not joking. Probably once every 2 weeks, I'd email or call. Yeah,
mhm,
and then I got to a point. The first one I was really keen. It's like once a week, and it went on for all this time. I'm like, God, how am I going to get? How am I going to get through? So then I was sending them letters. I was writing letters. This is us. This is what we do. Really like to sell your brand. I think we could, really help the growth in the UK with this.
mm,
Sending letters, ignored. So now I'm phone calling, I'm emailing, and I'm sending letters, and nothing. And this was now we're probably getting into 2.5, 3 years. I had
mm,
I had a knee operation, and took me out for a little bit, but I was still working. So one of the nights I had to do some rehab. So I was going to the local gym, and I had like a big knee brace on. And I was just doing some like walking in the gym and just trying to get my rehab back on schedule so I could come back, and run around like an idiot left it at work. And I'm in there, and this fella is in there. It's an older guy. And this is a local small gym. It's not like a big branded place. We wasn't in Manchester city centre or Liverpool. I live in Warrington, which is a little town. And
Mhm.
this little town, it was a council-owned gym. And the gym was probably 300 square foot. And it had like some machines in, all this. It's a little place. And a guy comes up to me and he's watching me. He's like, "Oh, what have you had done?" And I said, "Oh, I've had, all my meniscus repaired and stitched back in, and the ACL had gone a little bit, and they've done all this." I had that same thing, 5 years ago. I was like, well, "What's the recovery like?" So we started talking, and he asked me, "What do you do?" And I tell him what I did, and he said, "Oh, I used to work in sales for that. I played basketball, and I used to work in sales for that brand."
Mm.
"Oh, did you?" And he goes, "Yeah, yeah, and I know this person and this person from who do all the distribution in Europe." I was like, "Do you?" And he's like, "Yeah." He goes, "I'll send him a WhatsApp now." I was like, "Okay." Sends him a WhatsApp. The next day I get a phone call and
Wow.
we sell that brand now. And that was just,
Wow.
it's like it was like such a weird experience how that happened. It was just a chance meeting in a gym
Mm.
over
Mhm.
someone who'd had the same operation as me years before,
Mhm.
who used to work in sales in a totally different sport, but knew a
Mhm.
guy. And it's just, yeah. And that's from then on, we sell that brand. So, yeah.
Brilliant. I when I was in the car industry, I took a guy on a test drive, and I was a retail salesperson, so I shouldn't really deal with corporate. But it was a Sunday and it was quiet, and this corporate customer came in, and he's like, "I want to drive this car because I might be getting it." And like, we would never get any commission or anything for dealing with a corporate customer. But I said, "Look, I'm quiet. I'll take you out in the car and see what you think." And anyway, took him out. He loved it, and he came back on the Monday and talked to corporate and ordered a car. But he gave me his business card and he did website design, and I was like, "Oh." Anyway, when I came back from that holiday and ditched my job and thought I'm going to set up my own business, I thought I'm going to have some sort of website. And I reached out to him on the card, and he put me in touch with Mike. And Mike obviously is who I got to help build the first shop for my online business, and who I've started the agency with. And we've been involved in loads of other projects together. So if I hadn't taken that guy on that test drive that day, and I'd have just gone, "Do you know what? You're a corporate customer. See you later. I'm nothing to. I'm not going to earn anything from you." I might never have had any of the story that I have. So it's I don't know how that universe conspires to do that for you, but it does.
It does, doesn't it? It does.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. It's karma, or if it's just like something rewarding your persistence and hard work.
Yeah.
It doesn't always work like that. There's many times when I've tried to contact people that I'm still to this day not spoke to. Um, but it's just the little wins, those little
Yeah.
wins out of the million things that you've done, those little ones that then work, and then it changes your perspective and gives you more, I don't know, like a bit of oomph to go and do it again,
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So
Definitely.
yeah, it is.
And then if you're thinking about like a little win, were there any big highlights, pinch me moments? Like, I know that's a pinch me moment. You managed to get that retailer or that brand on board, but is there any others that were just like, I can't believe this has actually sort of happened? Or
I'd have to think about. There's been a lot. Yeah, there's been a lot,
yeah,
like actual ones. That was the biggest one because of what the brand is, and it just the way it worked was just so wild,
yeah,
But yeah, there's been lots of them. There's lots of chasing. There's lots of things where you would you'd have like a concept in your head. I'm one of these. I'm out walking the dog at night, and you're probably the same. Your
mhm,
brain's always firing.
mhm,
Always and I remember ages ago you told me to get Asana, as
mhm.
like a planner on the app, and I have it on my phone. And that Asana, no plum for anyone. I don't know what else is out there, but I use Asana. I've been walking the dog at night, and my brain's firing what I'm thinking, doing, and I get it all down on there. And yeah, there's been a lot of stuff over time where it's gone from I was out walking the dog in the pissing down rain. I've got an umbrella,
Mhm.
dog's pulling me around like this. So I get this umbrella in this hand and the dog's lead here, and I've got the phone and I'm like type it out quick what I remembered, and I've spelt it all wrong, even though I've
Yeah,
got on there. But then the next day I'll come in and I'll sit down and I'll look at my Asana in the morning. I'm like, sometimes I look at it like, what does that say? What does it? Because I've throw it quick. But then I'm like, oh yeah, this, and then like months later, that's like materialized into
mm,
something that's there, and yeah.
mm.
So there's been lots of them like pinpointing them. I,
Yeah.
I don't know
But
what
then
it is.
even that, like getting sometimes you think of something and you think, I won't write that down because I'll remember it. And then you don't, do you? And you're like, what was that thing I was
All the
thinking last night? So just getting it down on paper or getting it down on something, an Asana app or like a to-do list, like having something that you can reference back. That's like actionable stuff, isn't it? Every day you can go over it like you did. And some of those things that are on paper turn into amazing ideas. I mean, you've got your own brand now, haven't you? With you know your own internal brand as well as the brands that you represent.
yeah.
You know, some of those must have just started off as ideas on a bit of paper.
The concepts of them are like, I'm in
Mm.
the shower, and sometimes like I'm in the shower and I'm like, we should develop that into do this because that would okay. And I'll turn the shower off and I'll go run out quick to where my phone is on the side, type it in quick so it's freezing, chuck the phone back on the bed, run back
Yeah,
and get back in the shower, and I'm like,
yeah.
yeah, it does. It does. It's all before I started writing those ideas down, my brain,
Mm.
it's still full, but my brain felt like it was going to, because there was so much and you'd forget so much. So I try and learn to take a little step back and to, the first thing I do in the morning is just read through the
Mhm,
asanas, and they're literally daily, they're daily, and it can be anything from, you know, make sure the managers have done this, or
mhm,
ask Mike to order a new doormat for the front door because I
mhm,
noticed it. Little things like that. They go down and you work through them, and now you're at a point where you can pass them off a little bit. It gets a little
mhm,
bit easier. Yeah, lots of little things like that help. They do
mm.
help. Yeah,
If you this is like a classic question, but I love it. If you could go back and tell your 2008 sorry, yeah, your 2008 or 2010 self something, what would it be? It might be a bit of advice, it might be a bit of inspiration. What would you go back and say?
I could never. I could never say anything better than what Brett said to me. What Brett
Right.
said to me at the start was the best advice that
Yeah.
I ever had.
Yeah.
But I would say that I'd tell myself how lonely it is being a solo.
Mm.
I would say, look, you're gonna be lonely. There's gonna be times when you wish you had somebody to bounce ideas off.
Mhm.
But that loneliness of making all the decisions and wondering if they're right down the line,
Mm.
to trust yourself. Trust
Mhm.
yourself. Trust that, like, inside you generally do know what path you're going to go down in terms of how you want the business to look and things. To definitely trust yourself and
Mhm.
listen to your ideas that are firing in that brain.
Mm.
Get them wrote down and
Mhm.
trust a lot of what they say. In terms of help, don't be afraid of like spending the money. The BT website, I'll always go back.
Mhm.
It was cheap. I got a free tablet.
Mhm.
At the time, I could have got, yeah, so I was the swag, but it didn't work out. I wasted so much time on that website. It never made its money back.
Mhm.
And then, kind of how we met
Mhm.
was I spoke to you for ages. I didn't want to spend the money to get a
Mhm.
website. I was,
Mhm.
but then you have to sit back and say that investment is going to work for you in the end, and you've got to believe in it, and you've got to really think that, you know, investing in your business is always going to help you move forward as long as it's a planned investment. Don't go willy nilly
Mhm.
just spending your money everywhere. Always
Mhm.
think about what you're going to get out of it. But yeah, not being afraid to spend the money in my 2008, 2010 self was
Mm.
like tight fisted, but I'd come from going to Asda with a calculator to spend the
Yeah.
50 to feed the
And some
four.
of those things will have helped you run a tight ship in business, wouldn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Like you say, you're not being frivolous,
No.
but what you're telling yourself is there's the right point to invest in the right thing to help you grow.
And it's like, don't be the decision making process around that. The
Mhm.
decision sometimes freezes you in your steps because you're like, should I, shouldn't I, should I, shouldn't I? And you
Mm.
ponder it for so long. And there's a point of you have to ponder it, but there's
Mm.
also a point of, are you spending too much time, wasting too much of your energy thinking about that? And you're thinking about it too in depth, where you really need to look at it strategically and say, like, make your decision a little bit quicker.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's so yeah, advice wise would be just to kind of, yeah, know it's lonely.
Yep.
And those decisions that you kind of having the conversations with yourself in your own head. I'm like, should I?
Mhm.
Should I? No, I don't know. Yeah, what should we do? Should we do this? And it's a conversation with me.
But
Um,
because you got that rock of it being like a thing that you love, a thing that you're passionate about, and everything else, like those decisions actually get made from a good place, right? As opposed to it being, oh, I hate doing this, or I'll just do that because it's easier, or I'll just do that because it's quicker. Like you're not going to make as many like corner cuts or anything like that, are you?
there's no such thing as quicker and easier. There's no
No.
such, there's no such. That's not easy. If you do the quick things, it makes it harder in the end. You know, if you just think, oh, quick decision. You know,
Mhm.
I was I've always thought like if you're doing the easy stuff in your life and you're not kind of trying
Mhm.
to push yourself, you end up having a harder time. You know,
Mm.
it's the same in business as well. If you're cutting all the corners and doing the quickest thing to get home, to go out to the pub with your mates or go to the gym or whatever your bag is, go surfing or go to
Mhm.
boxing, jiu-jitsu, you're like, oh, you know, I'm gonna turn the computer off, I'm gonna go.
Mhm.
Like you end up giving yourself more hassle in the end, and it ends up being a harder road. I'm late to training. I've got training tonight. I'll be late tonight because I will be in here doing something extra. And all the lads are always like, "You're always late. You know, you work for yourself. You're always late. How can you be late?" And I'm like, "Because like up until 5 minutes ago, I was emailing someone at the office, or
Yeah.
I was in the office cleaning my desk. You know, before I left for the next day, so I didn't have to do it." And it's always a case. Yeah, always a
Yeah.
case. Oh,
I like some people answer that question, not that I've spoken to, but I've heard it answered in that they go and tell themselves that everything's going to be all right. And I don't think I'd want to tell myself everything's going to be all right. I wouldn't want to remove any fight out of me or any passion or any charge or anything out of me like that. So I don't agree with that. I think like there's a phrase I like, which is it's not the goal of what you do, it's the person you become whilst doing it, right?
yeah.
So, you went back to, oh, well, I was there with my one finger typing, like that took me ages to type. Even that, I expect you type at a far faster pace now than you used
I
to,
do.
maybe even two fingers at a time.
So I think I've got a few more, but
A few more, okay.
it's nothing special. You know, it's
Yeah,
nothing. You look at my typing, and if you was a accomplished typer, you'd be like, wow. But yeah,
yeah,
I can type a lot faster, and
yeah.
it's teaching yourself. It's the things that when you're younger you thought, you know, what's the point in doing something? And it's the same with everything, isn't it? Everything's an acquired skill. You've got to acquire that knowledge and you've got to be open to learning it. And a lot of the things I've learned is because I was in that place of sink or swim, do or die. If I didn't
Mhm,
ever learn to type, I would never be able to do this. If I
mhm,
never learned how to use a computer, I would never be able to do this. But I had to relearn those skills because when I was younger, as most kids are, you don't listen to your peers. You're like, I know everything. I don't need to listen to you. I'm 15. What is there that I need to know? And yeah, obviously as you get older, I've turned into my dad. You know, I have. I've turned into my dad. I'm walking around our house turning lights off, and my dad used to say, "Turn lights off," and I'll be like, "Why?" He goes, "Because it costs money." I'm walking around our house just going, "Why?" I've come downstairs. It's summer. Why are all the lights on? And I'm turning them off, and I'm just you end up being that because it's experience in it. You know, it's
100%. Are there
yeah.
any other skills you've learnt along the way that you're proud of that you've got now, other than your frugalness in the home for turning lights off and two finger typing?
Just you know what? Just like I've developed, and I always had it a little bit, but over time I've developed like getting stuff done. Like, yeah, and that
Mhm,
means that's not a massive skill, but it's where lots of people would go, like we just said, I'll turn it off and I'll go. I've
mhm,
developed like that kind of, I don't know what the correct word would it be, but I will make sure I will get stuff done. I
mhm,
will get stuff done. If I've got 20 things to do in that day, I
mhm,
will get them done and I'll
mhm,
work through them but I will not just get them done. I'll get them done properly. You know,
mhm,
that's 9 times, and not all the time. You know, I make a lot of mistakes, but I will make
mhm,
sure that I get through that stuff and I'm just grinding on a constant level. And that's just down to lots of little things as well. And we have lots of staff here now, and, you know, we have meetings every day. And it's just, you know, I will get through my work and I will get it done. I've just learned to get my head down, knuckle down, get on with what I'm doing.
mm.
as a director, there's no straight path in the day. I don't come in and go, right, today I've got X, Y, and Z to do, because you'll do
Mhm.
X, Y, and Z, and you end up doing so. Like just us getting on this podcast now, I was I was late because I had a meeting with a factory this morning, and then I looked at your message, and you sent me a message yesterday saying, "Are we okay for tomorrow?" Well, I read that this morning and thought we were to the next. I thought I'd wrote it down wrong, and your path changes throughout the day, and you've got to be able to go,
Mm.
"I'm concentrating on one thing." Someone will
Mhm.
walk in the office and say, "What do you want to do about this?" And so you have to go from concentrating wholly on this to putting
Mhm.
your input into that to go into the
Mhm.
next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing. There's no day where I can't walk through the warehouse and go, someone goes, "Oh, we're thinking of this." So I have to get involved in that. So yeah, the
I
best
think
skill.
we're very similar in that what we perhaps lack in skill, we make up for in effort. And I
Yeah,
just always thought that I know I can rely on myself to work hard. I may not have the skill to make it easy on myself, but I'll just do twice as much, or I'll do three times as much to compensate. And that's how you just get there, with kind of a bit of brute force and ignorance and just hard graft, isn't it?
I agree. I think it's
Yeah.
like an old adage, isn't it? You see a lot of them on, a lot of the like multi millionaires and the businessmen. They always say, don't they? I left school with nothing, and everyone thinks that's like a I don't know, a bit of a like an anecdote, or like they're just saying it because that's it. But it is true that
Mhm.
like your hard work and effort will always outweigh
Mhm.
as much. I'm not saying education, but it will, if you're willing to go further, work harder, and put more effort in, you'll always get to a point where you need to be. And I think that's
Mhm.
with everything, isn't it? If you like, and
Yeah.
that's, I don't know, you like surfing, if you were putting more effort in than the people who aren't, you're going to get to the point of being a better surfer quicker.
Yeah.
It's that effort. And you're right. It's a lonely road if you're doing it on your own. It's a heartache, and it's despair, and it's all those things, but it's also joy,
Mhm.
sense of achievement,
Mhm.
yeah, there's all those things wrapped into one. You've got to be able to take the good and the bad and
Yeah, I
take.
think we've worked together for well over 10 years, and like you have always had a real fine eye for what you're doing, like a real drive and a real fine eye for what you're doing. You've always questioned and been curious, and I think that makes you who you are in a way, because you've not ever kind of just accepted things along the way as, oh well, that's how you do it, or that's, you've always been curious to learn, well, why does that work like that, and why do I need to do that, and actually you're saying that's a good one, I've looked at this one, so what do you think of that one? And sometimes it's kind of worked and changed our opinion on things because you've queried or questioned or been curious about stuff, and that I think has made you like, you've almost a bit like a bit like a whiskey. You're like, you've smoothed, and as you've aged and your business maturity has come, you've kind of smoothed a lot more. You, like when we first met, you were very erratic, very like really into everything with a, like a whirling dervish, like Tasmanian devil. And now you're much more smooth, but you still carry all that curiosity all the way through, which I think is a really great business quality that you've kept.
Thanks, I hope so. Whirling Dervish is a good, it's a good description. Yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
it's about, I don't know, but there's that many things firing in my mind.
Mm,
I really do struggle to set them out in a conversation.
mm,
You'll find that I kind of go off in different tangents because I'm thinking about what we're talking about, but I'm also thinking about what I'm going to do next. And I think it's kind of it's a pro and a con at the same time. The pro
mm,
is I'm able to get stuff done. I'm always thinking about the next thing, and it makes progression there. The con is me always getting across the kind of point that I want to make, or having a conversation where we can like just concentrate on that one issue.
mhm,
It is quite difficult for me to do because again, I'm thinking about what I'm going to do tomorrow and the next day and the next day,
mhm.
and but also having to battle what we're doing today, and that kind of is quite hard. So yeah, I am a little bit Tasmanian devilly all over the show, but I think that's a great quality. My son, my youngest son, he's always called him to you the wrecking machine. So, I've got kids, there's quite a broad age gap in my kids. And the youngest one come along a little bit older. So, I'm a little bit tired more. He wakes up and he's like a bomb. He's gone. And so it's hard, but it's also I'm a bit more patient because I'm a bit older as well. So it's,
Mhm.
a bit of both. And, he was at school, he struggled a little bit. And my dad always says, it's just like you were worse than him. And I would say, like, he's had some, I don't know what they're called, Sen meetings and stuff where, he doesn't concentrate as well as the other kids all the time. He's getting much better as he's getting a little bit
Mm.
older. I always say to the wife, like, "Look, that's going to be like that's his superpower." I always say, like, he doesn't need any medication. He's
Mhm.
just not fit to sit in a classroom. You're taking someone who's high energy. And I think this is like another total different subject, but education system wise, we're taking these people who are all different, you know, capacities and all different, personalities, and we sit them down and expect them all to sit in a room and write and listen and learn. And
Mhm.
we've been, I don't know, in a classroom for 5,000 years, however long civilization's been going and we've been teaching people. I know that gets pushed back all the time, but let's just say it was 20,000 years. Well, humans have been around for millions. And
Mhm.
those people who've got that energy, they would be the hunters. They'd be out there with a dad hunting. They were
Mhm.
high energy and that suited humans. But then now we've took them and go, oh, you hunters, you've actually got to sit in the classroom.
Mm.
And so that was always like, I would say that's his superpower. And that's what I've got. Like, I can be verbal diarrhea. I'm like, oh, let's do this. I'm going to, and I've still got it now, but it helps me, like we just said, get stuff done. My effort will always outweigh like what I lack in, you know, any other ability. I'll always go and do it. So I think, all the kids that get all these diagnoses these days, and I'm no doctor, I think that we
Mm.
should allow them to have that, they're going to be operating on a different level in effort wise than a lot of the others. So I don't know if
Yeah,
that,
education's like teaching what is it, an elephant and a monkey to climb a pole.
yeah,
Like some of them are going to be good at that, some of them aren't, but it doesn't mean that they're not going to be, great at other things in life, isn't it?
exactly. Yeah, it's just like one box fits all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So you've gone right the way back from just selling on eBay. You now sell on eBay, Amazon, your own platform,
yeah,
multi kind of language stores in different territories. You've got your own brand. You've gone from dropship. You've just moved to having your own kind of. How big is the warehouse you've just moved into?
the warehouse is double mezzanine, so it works out about 5,000 square foot where we are. But then we kept the old warehouse on, which is just we didn't move far, so we've got the old
Yeah.
warehouse still as well. So yeah, we've got a
And you got the
5,000.
shop as well. So yeah, is there anything that's on that list as the next thing?
There it is. I've got plans. There's lots of
Okay.
plans. Yeah. So there's some that I can't really talk about, but next list is just building a team, building a
Hmm.
team into, we've always had a decent team,
Hmm.
um, building a team that is much more efficient. So when you've got a small business, you like to employ people who can do a bit of everything.
Yeah.
And that you try and get now that bit of everything is a very difficult skill. It's a difficult to find, and it's what we tend to have.
Mhm.
But you try and employ someone who's got a bit of everything, you will find one in every 25 employees who can do that. You know, so we've always run it to a point where we're careful on what we spend. To a certain degree, you have to be. It's a very niche market, so it's not like we're selling football, which is a huge market. We're in combat sports.
Mhm.
So I've always tried to go for as best as I can, people who can do a bit of everything. I'm trying to step away from that a little bit now. I'm trying to employ you do X, Y, and Z. You do X, Y,
Mm.
and Z. You do X, Y, and Z. So the manager who's been with me for a long time, he can
Mhm.
do a bit of everything. It's fantastic. And
Mhm.
now I'm just trying to build around him as well,
Mhm.
because me and him a lot of the time are what pushes it forward, and we're the ones in the trenches a lot of the
Mhm.
time. all the other staff work really hard. We're in the trenches doing this job, this job, this job, this job, and then we've got someone who does a bit of everything, but then maybe don't specialize very well in X, Y, and Z. They can do a little bit of everything, but they're not up there that they can really do this really well. So now what I'm trying to do is get the team around us that does that. We've started to do that. So,
Mhm.
so
So
yeah,
more specialists within the team, more specialization within the team.
it's more
And more
specialization.
accountability, does that mean more accountability and a little bit less accountability on you as well?
Yes, exactly,
Mm,
exactly. Yeah, and it's again going back to what we said. It's difficult because me and Mike, the manager, know every aspect of this place. If you need me to go and work in the store, I'll work in the store. If you
mhm,
need me to go into the warehouse, I'll go in the warehouse. I'm not as good as the warehouse guys because I
mhm,
don't do it every day, but I can do it. Mike's the same. Every aspect,
mhm,
when it comes to sweeping up, I'm a good sweeper. I'm fast at it. This every aspect we can do, and that's where you end up jumping in to
mhm,
other people's stuff because you know how to do it, but then trying to teach them to do every aspect. It goes back to the old adage. I could sweep that floor myself quicker than saying, "Can you just do this? Oh, you've missed that bit. You do that bit. Oh no, I could have just done it by now." And it's trying
mhm,
to get away from that. So yeah, it's
mhm,
more accountability and less for me, and having people who can really like nail down those tasks that you've got you give them, you know what I mean? They're not pulled from pillar to post. They
mhm,
concentrate on that and they do that, and you know that when if I say, can you do this, I know it's in hand. That's another thing that's really hard to let go of
mhm,
me not jumping in and just checking and micromanaging. You want someone who you can say, I'm giving you this, and then it's gone. It's off your
mhm,
Asana, it's out your head,
mhm,
on
mhm.
their Asana, it's in their head. It's done. So that's
Great.
don't know if that answers your question or not, but yeah, that's
That's perfect. I think you told me before we started that you've got a new tattoo on your leg of Notorious B.I.G. So as he would say, sometimes you might wake up and feel like it was all a dream.
yeah, I've got that
Yeah.
type black as well. Yeah. So, yeah, good,
It
good.
must feel like that a little bit to go from where you are, 15, 16 years ago to now. It's happened in a heartbeat, but you're doing an awesome job in the business. So like we've enjoyed working with you for the past 10 plus years and you've challenged us, we've challenged you, as I've said. And yeah, I hope the business goes on to some great things in the future. So thank you very much for sharing everything with me. It's been a brilliant chat. I've loved it.
Yeah, I've loved it too. And you guys have been great. You really reined us in with my ideas, and like you say, the whirling dervish stuff. I've learned from you as well over the years.
Mhm,
I like to think that like me and you get on really well.
mhm,
There's been times when we've probably not got on so well when we've been mid project or
mhm,
whatever, and you also learn that shit happens and you just got to get through it. You can't always go in like a bull in a china shop and say, I want, I want, I want. You've got to work together. I know I've said this. I know you're laughing there because I have been, I want, I want, I want. But there is times when you've got to like step back and
Well, you want what you want because you have the vision of where you've been and where you're going, and I think that's a good thing. The us doing business together has worked because there's been a common ground in the middle where you've agreed with what our thinking or vision or ideas were, and they align with what you want to do, and we have a service that could help what you can't do in house. So, yeah, I think we've always got there, haven't we? Like, regardless of
yeah,
platform or regardless of what you want to do. I mean, we've worked with some partners in the past, and you've gone out on your own and found something different to the partner that we've worked with, and that's actually been like probably one of the better things that you've done. Like, so Omnisend, for example, when we're trying to work with different mail campaign systems, you went off and found that, and then you've really excelled in using that for the business. So, like, it's not always been our advice that you've always followed your own path as well, which I think is what helps you, keep a business going for the long term.
yeah, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also there's systems that we use that you guys have suggested and we
Mm,
took on board, and at first we were skeptical. through use and a little bit of trust in you guys, it's always worked out well, you know.
Mm,
And I think in business, you've got to question stuff. And if you just go with everything that you're told all the time, you are going to come unstuck at some point. Um,
sure.
and it's also about managing budgets as well, isn't it? You always, I think, you always set off trying to find something cheaper. You always do, and cheaper is not always the best. By the way, it's not always the best. Um, and you go along that line of you might use something cheaper, but it ends up being crap, or you might find
Yeah.
something that actually does the same thing. And I think
Mhm.
you've got to weigh that up, and that's a decision. And going back to me saying it's a lonely process being a sole director is it
Mm,
bouncing off other people, and that's why I have the managers, you know, now to kind of bounce those ideas around. But yeah, you ultimately have to make the decision, and it has to, you know, by hook or crook, it has to be the right or the wrong. And making a decision, you find out whether it's right or wrong quicker. You know,
yeah.
that's the thing. So
And not all decisions, well, very few decisions are irreversible, right? But
yeah,
sometimes not making a decision can be more detrimental than just making one and cracking on and putting the effort behind it that you need to.
decision like paralysis. You
Mm,
paralyzed by that. Should I? Shouldn't I? And
yeah.
again, sole directors out there, that's like really difficult to do. I think sometimes you have to step away and go in the
Mhm,
shower or walk the
mhm,
dog and have a little think about it. I'm very impulsive as well. I
mhm,
want to get the stuff done. And that, like, learning as you're getting a bit older to step back and have a think about it
mhm.
is an advantage as well, definitely.
Mhm, mm.
But
And it sounds like Brett was a great sort of person to have, to help you with that as like a little mentor. And
yeah,
yeah, I've always seen huge value in working with people who've either done it before or have got great experience. We've worked with someone called David Ford and Laura McCarry, and sometimes they just sit and say nothing, and you think, "Cool, you're not really contributing a lot here." And then right at the end or right before you're about to leave, they'll just come out with one pearl of wisdom or one kind of idea, and you think you've listened to everything and you've really considered everything, and then you've questioned me or you've given me something to look at or look into, and it's really helped change the way the business has operated or the direction of the business. And yeah, I think I've always had Mike in the businesses that I've worked with. You've been more on your own, but still, even with two people, we've sought sort of comfort in having more experience come along the journey with us.
yeah, Mike's your Mike is a great guy. I've always, you
Yeah.
know, Mike have had times when we've been like that.
Yeah.
You know, so but we still get on.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Brett was you've got to, I think sometimes you've got to be open to take that advice as well. And I think as your journey goes on, like now, there's been even times recently when I'm like, I would love to talk to Brett. Just I would love to ask him that question. And
Mm.
in me saying that question, obviously he's not around anymore, but asking that question, then I start to think about, well, what would he have said to me? You know, like, and
Mhm.
so then I'm analyzing internally from somebody else's point of view that might not actually be there. And it's all a dream really inside my head, this, you know, conversation between me and Brett. But it's like, what would he have said? What would he
Mm.
say to me to do? What would he,
Mm.
where would he have pointed me in the right direction? What, and then I'm kind of then analyzing it from a different point of view, if that makes sense. It's not
Yeah, yeah.
from my kind of my wants as a director. I'm like, I've seen this, I want to do it, you know, and then without someone to bounce that idea off, you don't get the cons. You're more like looking towards the pros of that decision. So yeah,
Mhm.
I always like, I definitely miss him in that way,
Mhm.
and I
Mhm.
also really like. I'm so glad that he was really like blunt and to the point with me at the start. I really am. I hated him, but he was just being honest, and I
Yeah.
think honesty is worth, you know, it's worth a lot, definitely over
Yeah.
the yeah.
The real conversations and being frank and being honest is like there's too many people that just say yes or agree with you because they're not thinking about what they're answering. They're just, it's a quick answer and yeah, oh yeah, I'll go along with what you say. And actually, they're the people that probably cause more damage in your entrepreneurial journey, aren't they? The yes men.
Yeah,
Like
yes.
you want a bit of friction.
Yeah, yeah, you do have a bit of friction. like my friction is tends to be myself, you know. Do this, do that. But yeah, you do want a bit of friction. You do. You can't always have your own. If you always have your own way, it's
Mm,
like the child that never gets told off for doing anything. They end up
mm,
messing up a lot of the time. You know, you've got to check them every now and again. And I think a check,
mm,
even as an adult, even in the business, in any form of anything, you check yourself, and it's good if you're the best person in that gym, you know, the best person, the best boxer in the gym, and you've got no challenge, you're not really growing as much. You always need to
yeah.
get challenged. There's always got to be someone who's challenging you in every aspect of it. So yeah, it's yeah, you definitely need a bit of friction. It's a good way to describe it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. Well, thank you so much for being on here, and yeah, wish you all the success with the next 10 years of wherever Fart Equipment UK goes. And thank you for all your business over the years. We've thoroughly enjoyed working with you. So
Thank you for everything you guys have done for us and for listening to my whirling dervish of verbal diarrhea a lot of the time when I come out and I've got this plan. Adam, I want to do this, I want to do that, and I've no clue how I'm going to do it, but you guys will sort it for me.
it's always exciting. It's always exciting.
Yeah, so it's been great. I've enjoyed it, and I'm glad. You know, one of the turning points in the business you asked me about before was probably actually taking the plunge and listening to when me and you first started talking to each other, because I'd had
Mm,
some bad experience with web developers. It was
mm,
trusting the right person, but I took a long time to make that decision. You probably thought at the time, "Oh, he's just messing
mm,
around." But actually, like, yeah, one of the turning points was, and this isn't like I don't know, a plum to you guys, but it was actually like stepping back and saying, I can work with these guys. And,
mhm,
you know, that was definitely a turn for us starting working with what was Media Lounge, which is now, is it Real Agency, you guys
mhm,
now?
mhm.
That definitely changed things for me. Definitely. So,
Brilliant. Oh, thank you, man. That's very kind.
Follow the Real eCommerce podcast and visit realagency.co.uk for more e-commerce content like this.